everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Paia Groject, the unofficial podcast about the board game Gaia Project. I am Matteo, El Temblo, and with me is Simone Molfo. Hello.
Indeed. You say the new episode of the podcast, but this actually feels like an old episode of the podcast. I'm finally back. Like, in the good old times where people were used to hear my voice.
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you. I'm kind of fine. I'm pretty, kind of fine. Just maybe, I owe our listeners some mild apologies. So, basically what happened is that, Christmas holidays happened, and then I was away for the Christmas holidays, and then I came back, but then I was away again, but this time for work, and yes, so now I'm back.
And we'll get
I was happy when I was away. I have to confess this because I traveled to warmer climates. Now I'm back in the Italian winter. But spring is on its way. That's a good thing. I'm also overworked. While I was away, I was more relaxed. Now, not that much. But here I am back behind the microphones of Gaia Project. If there is one thing that is good about being back, is being back to the podcast.
Do you want to tell us where you have been, or maybe you'd rather not to? Because last time I launched a sort of a guess where he is, and so.
Oh yeah, I've heard the dessert part. There are two things I really like, both deserts and desserts. But okay. I've been to Sri Lanka during the Christmas, not Christmas, but New Year's Eve holidays. Actually, my original idea was traveling to India, because if anything, because it would have been good, to finally meet Arun in person and play some Gaia Project during my Christmas holiday. But it was impossible traveling to India from Italy, because now traveling is very complicated and there are a lot of regulations.
I also would not have forgiven you for going there.
Of course. And there was something that, one day we'll do this, Paia Groject is going to India, but not this year. This year was not today. Today's not today. And then I was in Oman for research last 2 weeks of January.
And here comes the dessert. I don't know why I said dessert last time, but I really enjoyed that. And
I think you said, yeah, you said both words.
it's not like 15. It was full intentional, and I don't know why. Maybe because I don't know this language, that I'm trying to speak, and so I don't think it helps.
No, but it made me think about the old joke about the World War II general Rommel, the dessert fox, the one who always came first to the buffet. I'm sorry, that was. You can totally cut this out and edit this. It was terrible.
I am 110% not doing that, of course.
But anyway, what was I saying? That
you were talking about Rommel, I think World War II.
No, before that, before Rommel. I was talking about the fact that one day Paia Groject will be in India, and we will play Paia Groject in the subcontinent. Until then, we're still playing Paia Groject in northern Italy. Not so fancy, but we do. And we are back with a super. I'm totally stoked about this episode. It's going to be a great episode. Is a much awaited episode. Yeah, no, Matteo is making faces. It's going to be a good episode. I think it's going to be a good episode.
I mean,
we have been postponing these forever. This has been announced, but then it turned out that we lied. I lied. So this episode never came, but now it's coming. Now it has come. Now it's here. This is the Firaks episode, guys.
Yeah, the Firaks episode, about guides. I was recently thinking something, and also I've had other inputs. I mean, these guides really should be heard I was going to say seen, but for what they are. Because what we are trying to do here is really not to give in all the nuances of a faction. I mean, we do our best, but the purpose
that would be impossible.
The purpose is to provide some, so to say, baseline strategies, things which are tested and reliable to be easily reproducible, I would say, and not necessarily the best tactical advices. Even if one day I'd like to do some, some sort of advanced guides about factions, like all about nuances, maybe not one episode for faction. But anyway, this is just something that we will see. And so this is something that we should remind, as I think, our listeners. So if you're really expert, of course, we love if you listen to our guides. We also like your feedback. Maybe you can find something, but don't expect to find something that will really bring you to, not to the next level, but to the highest level possible.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, particularly true, particularly evident in this episode because, Firaks. If you've been listening to this podcast long enough, you know how me and Matteo feel about Firaks. I mean, it's a faction that we really like, that we really love. We're two lovers of the gray board in general, BESCODS, already because we talked about them and Firaks as well. But we also said several times that although we both enjoy playing Firaks, we like Firaks, we hold Firaks in very, very high esteem. Firaks are not an easy faction to play, and especially not an easy faction to win with. And no matter what we say during this episode is going to change that. No matter and anything we said, Evits and Taclons are still going to win more on average than Firaks in every game of Gaia Project that is played around the world. So what we can offer you are some ideas, some tentative solutions, to bring your Firaks on level with the most competitive factions in the game, or at least try to.
They have similarities, I think, with Hadshalas in this regard, meaning that, by the way, recently I have met lots of Hadshalas games. I don't know, they seem to be trending. Anyway.
Trending on Gaia Project, Hadshalas.
Yeah, these here Firaks, these here Hadshalas are really rocking. Anyway, they have some similarities, I think, meaning that they are, in my opinion, a bit overrated. And we have our responsibilities in this, I suppose, as you were saying.
We do.
Because,
we certainly do.
Because I agree with the fact that they are quite a hard faction to play. They are not Baltax tire, but almost. They are hard. And especially because of their starting situation with resources. Okay, so since we are in the heat of it, maybe I shall talk about the components. You want to do that?
Right. Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
So Firaks, the gray board. Firaks, the board. What's on the board of Firaks? So let's start with the bad news. Let's not dance around this. Firaks have a huge initial nerf. We really struggle to see the reason. Honestly, Helge, we don't know what you did this to poor Firaks. But Firaks, they start with one less ore than the average faction. Two, if you're thinking about ETARs. But so at the beginning of the game, a Firaks player will only have 6 ores instead of 7. That's a shame. As you can easily imagine, this really impacts the first round of your game, of course, because, one extra ore or one less ore in this case, round 1 is huge. It makes a huge difference, and it seriously hampers your ability to pursue certain strategies round 1. Anyways, good news, however, is that Firaks have a natural income of 2 knowledge instead of 1 per round. Yay, exactly. So every other faction except for BESCODS, of course, they have a 1 knowledge income per round, which is printed on the board. That's your base income. You always gonna get that no matter what. Firaks get 2, which helps them cope with a certain, very, very peculiar relationship that Firaks have with the blue stuff, that Firaks have with knowledge. And this is directly related to their PI ability. So Firaks have a normal PI in that gives you 1 extra power token every round at the start of each round, makes you charge 4 at the start of each round. But then the Firaks PI has one of the weirdest abilities in the game as far as PIs run. So when your PI is open, you unlock a new action on your faction board. So it's an action, so you need to activate it, and you can only use it once per round. When you do that, you are allowed to downgrade, not upgrade, but downgrade one of the research labs that you already have on the board to a trading station. So in a way, the research lab that you have built reverts back into a trading station. If you do that, when you do that, what you get is an extra bump on any science track. It's for free. It's not for free. I mean, you lose the presence of your research lab on the board, but you gain the trading station and you get these extra bumps. These obviously means that Firaks are pretty good at climbing up science tracks. In case you didn't know before, you know now. Firaks, very good on science tracks.
And also, they tend to have lots of basic tiles, or sometimes all of them, because you have to rebuild your labs from round to round if you want to use the ability of your planetary institute, which you want to. And you end up, of course, going up a lot on the TRAKS. And you also end up taking almost all of the basic tech tiles in the process while building and rebuilding your labs.
Yep. So this is Firaks at a glance. Did I forget anything, Matteo? No, I think this is their board by and large.
I'd like to add one small thing, and I think you forgot a very, very, very important part, but I will come back to that later. No, I had this small story, I think that Itars stole the initial starting ore from Firaks. This is common knowledge. I mean, we all know that. And then Firaks went crazy.
That's true.
And in return, stole the knowledge income from the BESCODS. It was easier because it was on the same board. And so this is... I don't know if I'm keeping this part. Anyway, the very important thing that you forgot is the most prominent feature of the board. And by that, I mean the artwork of the Firaks. Look at that. That's the most beautiful, incredible, unbelievable things ever seen on a gaming board. I mean, Firaks are these octopus people with 6 eyes, 4 of those on top of tentacles, and they probably have also tentacles, but it's not clear. But they could be arms, and which end in 4 small tentacles. And in the process, they are wearing like an empty barrel, I think.
Yeah, he's clearly something that they got out of a dumpster. There's no other way to describe what the Firak guy or girl, I don't know, is wearing.
I mean, if Firaks aren't the most beautiful faction in Gaia Project, I really don't know who is, because they are...
I don't know if they're beautiful. They're charismatic, that's for sure.
They're awesome. Okay, so Firaks. In general, they are a build-up faction, I think. They tend to at least rebuild these labs all the time. Usually do not expand a lot, at least in the early game. Sometimes they do not expand at all. But most of all, they are... Why do we like them so much? Because they are super, super fun to play, I think. They're also very satisfactory, because in general, you see you going up these tracks, have fun in the process, grab abilities each round. They're very interesting, but again, I don't think they can win as easily as sometimes we think, because
let's say one thing in favor of Firaks. There is at least one thing that you have for granted when you play Firaks, and that is there is no Firaks game that ends with less than 36 points on the science tracks, I'd say. And depending on how you want to play your game, or how you're able to play your game given the circumstances, you can really have that number skyrocket. Well, I mean, my personal record was a crazy Firaks game of many years ago, where I think I was allowed to do things that I shouldn't have, but I ended up scoring 60 points on the science tracks. Oh, that is totally insane. That's never going to happen again. But it's very easy with Firaks to score more than 40 points on the science tracks, and that's a reliability. I mean, if anything, the Firaks can assure you those points. One of the reasons for the popularity of Firaks is that they can do reliably good, and nobody can stop you from climbing up science tracks. So these points at the end of the game you're gonna get. However, the rest of the points that you're supposed to score during the game, well, those might be a bit problematic, which maybe brings us to the topic of the map, maybe brings us to the topic of final scoring objective. Matteo, your pick.
No, sure. Let's start with the map, because actually there isn't much to say here. I mean, I think you need like the usual home planet within reach of a QIC.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you like white and brown planets. About Transtims and Gaias, I don't think that Firaks really have a strong interest in Transtims, at least at the beginning, even if at some point you will end up going up the Gaia track. But we will talk about this, but I don't think that's a prominent feature in their map. I think that they just need a decent map. They can be very, very good diggers. I mean, taking planets not of their type. Of course, gray planets scattered around meaning in convenient position for you to take them, are of course variable. But apart from the fact that Firaks have a very, very big problem with color neighbors, they suffer them a lot. I don't think that the map needs to have some specific features. I mean, of course, if you can start to place both of your mines within 2 axes of a neighbor, that would be better, because we can do a very build-up start. But at least one, of course. But in general, you'd rather have not too many neighbors, because since you are building and rebuilding on the same planet, you can end up charging a lot other players. So under that respect, the fewer the better. I don't think they have a very important map requirements. What do you think?
I think that they like having easily reachable home planets as the next faction, but I agree with you. What is most important for Firaks is not really the position of the planets. I mean, the position of planets is important as it is for the average faction guy project, but what is really important to them is color neighbors, as you were saying. And let's state this very clearly: the ideal Firaks game is a game in which both, I would say, white and brown are not in play. You can do very well with one of these two colors in play, but if both white and brown are in play, you're in for a difficult game, because as Matteo was saying, Firaks tend to expand later on in the game, not in the early game, and having two aggressively expansionist color neighbors is really gonna create difficulties for you later on in the game.
But also early, because actually you're not too bound to gray planets as, say, BESCODS are. You can easily take white and grays, for example. An early dig of one for Firaks is totally viable, but the problem is that if you have those color neighbors, maybe they are not taking your gray planets, but for sure they are taking their home planets, and so end up with easy digs not available.
Yeah, and not only that, let me add something. I'm not going to worry about expanding now. I'll be able to do that later. I will most definitely climb up the terraforming track, so that is not an issue. I will very easily and probably early get to third level of the terraforming track. Maybe I'm losing a planet now. I will dig a 2-step planet later on, and I will somehow adjust. The problem is if you have brown and white into play, they're also gonna dig yellow and blue, especially yellow, which is when you run out of brown and whites and say, well, maybe I can take a yellow, and then you find out that brown has already eaten up all the yellows. Maybe white has started eating up blues, and that's a problem, because at that point, really, I've seen this many times. Firaks so boxed that they are forced to go for 3 steps planets. That's too much. That's spending too much for even for the very, very limited Firaks expansions. This is one reason I think Firaks are not are rarely a good pick, a first pick. So maybe you want to have a look at what your opponents are playing before picking Firaks, or at least try to get a sense of what your opponents. I mean, if there is a great gray map, a great brown map, a great white map, if there is a very obviously good Ambas or Taclons or Nevlas or Eaters game, well, Eaters are maybe the smallest of your problem, the last of your problems, but try to avoid, playing Firaks when both Ambas and Nevlas are in play, because you're in for troubles.
Also, brown and white has the two factions which take the most advantage from our building up and down our labs, which are Nevlas and Taclons. So really, brown and white are terrible. If you are Firaks, so I recommend Firaks almost never as a first pick, unless both brown and white maps are extremely terrible. And even in that case, maybe factions like Eaters and Taclons can be picked nonetheless. So be careful. Yeah. You really have to have a perfect situation on the map, which can happen, because people, if they rotate sectors, tend to rotate out white and brown because they are strong factions in general. Always keep in mind that if you are, say, a first pick Firak, maybe the second player can take a faction, which is not a problem for you. I don't know, Hatshalas, Baltax, whatever. But then allows a Taclon player to have easy charges at the beginning. So Taclons can be picked regardless. Okay, if just Taclons are in play is a problem, because they are one of the worst opponents possible for us, both for competition on the tracks and on the map, and also getting lots of advantages. But if there are just Taclons, you can still play, so to say. If the fourth pick is a white faction, you are done. You absolutely cannot play that game. It's impossible. I mean, of course you can, but it won't go well. Trust me. It won't go well.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, agreed. So again, as I was saying, this brings us directly into the final scoring objectives, because we want to understand when to pick Firaks, when it is a good idea to play them. And so, I have very strong opinions on the topic, but I'll let you go first.
This is a very delicate issue for Firaks, because we have problems here, as we will see in a moment. Let's start with the two structures objectives, the two twins objectives, most structures in play and most structures in play in federations. You have 1 minute for this.
They're not good objectives for us, as is obvious from everything that we said up to this point. Firaks are not early expansionists, and in general, they tend not to expand a lot. You can do that. I've seen that done. I played Firaks game with plenty of structures in play, but that is difficult. It does not happen regularly. So number of structures, the two structure objectives are not good for us. Actually, we are so bad at it that we could, we risk not scoring anything from those two objectives. We could even be, out structured, if that's a thing, by the EVITs, which are another faction that can perform very badly on this. So it's really not our cup of tea. I'm done.
Yeah, imagine a game of with those two main objectives, where you are Firaks, and in play there are Gleans, Xenos, Lantids.
Ambas or I mean, pick any faction, because all the factions are better than Asa structures.
Gaia Planets, I think it's basically the same, even if not worse.
Yeah.
But wait, this is true. We suck at that. But Firaks can be a very good pick, I think, in a game where Gaia Planets is one of the two objectives, because if at least two of the other players will pick Gaia forming factions, then we will have just one opponent on the economy and terraforming tracks, and that can be good for us. This is just my...
All right, okay. Agreed. If there is a lot of competition for transiting planets, the Gaia track, then we will probably be kind of left alone. And so, we won't score points on that track, probably 6 if we are really good, but that's probably not going to happen. But there are advantages for us in there. Agreed.
And the same, I think, can be somehow said if one of the two objectives is one of the two structures. Because if they are both in, okay, don't pick Firaks. But if there is one structure and you are like last pick after 3 expensive factions, then okay, let's go, pick Firaks. Because you won't score anything, but you will have 0 competition.
Yes, but with the caveat that, I mean, at a certain point, you will need a couple of planets. You risk to find yourself in the situation of what was described before, where the only planets that are available to you are, 3 steps terraforming planets, and whoa, that hurts.
Okay, that's also true. So maybe this is better for Gaia's, of course. But let's go on, because this can be better.
Yeah, let's discuss something that we are good at.
Or at least viable. Okay, so sectors.
Or at least viable.
No, I'm trolling you.
All right.
You.
Well, sectors were not exactly what I had in mind. But I'll tell you this. We are better at sectors than we are at structures. Because it does not take a lot of structures to take a lot of sectors. So sectors is definitely not our super strong, thing, but still better than structures. Let's review the other two, and then we discuss sectors.
Okay, so maybe we can do some points here, like at satellites.
Yeah, I mean the perfect Firaks game is satellites and planet types. Why? Satellites, because we tend to open RPI very early, and so we tend to produce probably 5 or at least 4 extra power tokens during the game. So we tend to have a lot of power. Firaks have a very good power cycle, for a reason that we will explore later, tend to have a very good power cycle. And if need be, it's very easy for us last round to, just jump up the Gaia forming track and even grab the 3 power tokens from that track if we're really desperate and we need power tokens. So satellites definitely one of our strong. Of course, we cannot hope to compete with monsters such as Terrans, but we can put up a very, very good fight on satellites.
We have a sort of a weird advantage in this, because since we tend to be late expanders, we are somehow forced to take planets in weird positions, like maybe this is the point, more distant from the other ones than they were if we had taken them earlier. So this is counterintuitive. This is maybe making good of a bad situation, but that can help in satellites because we are not going to have a ton of structures. So if those like 9 or 10 are very far apart from each other, in the case of satellites, that weirdly helps.
Agreed. 100%. I was going exactly in the same direction with the planet types thing. The point is,
planet types. So
we are late. We are late expanders, and so we have to make do with what is left. So we basically scavenge leftover planets. That's a good thing when the planet types objective is in play, because that's what you want to do anyways. You have to go take weird, expensive planets, and guess what? It's just the average Firaks game. That's just what we do for a living. We take weird, expensive planets because all the good ones have been taken from us. And as Matteo was saying, there is very good chances that these far away, these weird, expensive planets are also in weird positions, scattered across the galaxy. And so it'll take a lot of satellites to connect them. That's why I'm saying that, these two objectives are the Firaks objectives, because that's what they do naturally. So just go with the flow.
We are going to go up basically all the technology tracks. So maybe let's say that Gaia planets on the map were already taken because other factions are just better than we are at taking planets. And well, who cares? Maybe you just go up Gaia around 5, place the Transdim down, and there you go, planet type. You don't have to invest in that because you're going up the tracks anyway.
Yeah, all right. I think you're making it sound a little too easy, because sometimes even Firaks, when you have to do that extra bump on Gaia around 5 and think, yes, but I would really, like to maybe go up, have the possibility to go up QACs or I don't know. But yes, that is totally doable. In general, my suggestion is if you can take an early Gaia planet, take it. One of the ones that is printed on the map. Just take it and be done with the Gaia planet problem at planet types. But if you cannot, you always have the possibility of climbing up the Gaia forming track round 5. And yes, as Matteo was saying, of course we're gonna go up many tracks, especially terraforming. I don't think there is a single Firaks game without climbing up terraforming. I don't think I've ever saw one. I definitely never played one, but I don't think I ever saw one. And that's another reason why terraforming, planet types is a good objective for us. And that's also the reason why sectors, if maybe not our best objective, but still doable, for the same reason that we discussed when discussing satellites and planet types. I mean, you will be forced to, go out and try to grab some weird faraway planet. And that's what, the sector's objective basically forces you to do. So, yeah, while we're at it, why not taking an extra sector?
Again, I'm not recommending this because I was not recommending it before, but the thing I was just saying about the transdim can also be true for also say that you have no more access to a sector, but there's a transdim there. Okay, it won't be the best thing in the world. Maybe we would have rather gone up the intelligence track, or maybe you didn't go up the science track and you are giving up 2 knowledge points for round 6, which is not great. But if you really need a sector, then you can drop a Gaia formula there, and you have another chance to get it, which you wouldn't have a normal terraforming faction.
Yeah, definitely. I'll just add that the other reason why I was a bit more cold-footed on this one, and that's that, as I said, Firaks really love the power cycle, and rightly so, because they have a very good power cycle. And, placing that last Gaia former around 5, losing a lot of power from your power cycle, maybe will make for a not so brilliant power situation in the start of round 6, which is a bummer, of course. But, I mean, that's something that needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case scenario.
Yeah, also because that's correct, but we can easily do 2 bumps on a single track on any given moment, basically. And so we can just grab maybe the 3 powers just right before placing the Gaia former down, and also added value, because maybe we have a very good basic tile on the bottom of the Gaia track. Let's say that the 7 points are there. We can get that, which we want anyway. And so since we have this need, we can also grab the 3 power tokens and have it's a fire exit. It's not the main plan. But you have that. Just keep that in mind. That was the whole point of my idea. Okay, so now we have a very interesting point for us. Very, very, very interesting point, which is technology tracks. I want to thank Babuk and Arun for their suggestions on Firaks, which we gave me through the Discord on our own channel, which from this moment on, I will include when talking about Firaks. Thanks, guys. But I was saying technology tracks.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Technology tracks. Technology tracks. Technology track. Yeah, okay. No, seriously, for me, a Firaks game starts with climbing up the economy track. Are there different approaches to this? I mean, is there people suggesting they should climb navigation before economy? I guess so. I guess somebody's saying that because everybody who playing Firaks, of course, they're afraid of being boxed. And so say expand early. First, you take a couple of bumps on navigation, and then you start climbing up economy. I don't know. The way I play Firaks is I always, I climb economy as fast as I can, because we haven't discussed this yet, but Firaks do have a rather consistent resource, can have a resource problem, especially in the early mid game. So the economy tracks really helps with that.
Yeah, this is something which also Arun said, which is, I really like his answer, because it was something like, just be sure to get the level 2 of economy at least as early as possible. Let's say I would say round one. That's the that's your goal. And how you're going to do this is something which I would really like to talk about, especially now when talking technology tracks. And after that, you can go up navigation 2 if you want to. Me, I personally prefer whether to go to the top of the economy track or maybe better. And this is something which I really have to do more often, because I usually go up the economy track all the way up. But I think it would be better to go up level 2 of science before, so that I definitely solve my science problem all game long from round 2. And then, okay, I had to suffer a bit because expanding will be harder than going up navigation, maybe. But then I am set for the whole game. If I just build one lab, I will do 3 bumps on each technology tracks, at least each round, which is insane. We can climb basically a whole track each round.
Of course it is. For those of you who just started listening to this podcast, what Matteo is referring to when he's talking about the Firaks science problem is the fact that, if you haven't thought about this before, think about this now. When you use your PI ability and you downgrade your research lab, that means that your research lab is no longer in place in your board, is on your board. You're producing a lot of credits, but you're not producing that knowledge point. So it's true that Firaks get 2 knowledge points per round, but normally that's all they get because all their research labs are closed, are on the board, right? So having said that, I am a coward. I am a very, very coward person, and I am too afraid to play the I climb both science and economy strategy. I almost never do that with any faction. I know that Nebulous players sometimes like to do that. I know that other factions sometimes like to do that. I've seen Ivids do that. And I see what you're saying about Firaks, but the risk of climbing both income tracks, economy and science, in a single game, for me, is that your build-up strategy becomes I'm forever building up, and then the game is over, and I still have to do everything, and I just built up. And that's what I see happen in many games played by me, especially, and that's why I no longer do that. Which means to be very clear that my average Firaks games end around 36-40 points on the science tracks for this very reason, because I tend not to climb the science track when I play Firaks, and so I score good points on science tracks, but not stellar results, which is what you get if you climb up the science track, as Matteo was suggesting, which is, I guess, totally doable. Don't think it's it's good for me. Doctor told me I shouldn't do that.
It's not too much of cowardice, because as I was saying, going up the science track is something which I want to start implementing on a regular basis in my Firaks game, because I as well tend to go up economy also for another reason, because if it's round 2, say, I can go from economy 2 to economy 3, which isn't a great bump, but allows me to charge 3 power, which can be very important at the beginning, especially for a faction which starts with so few buildings. Maybe we should start talking about at this point about the Firaks openings, because here we have very, very interesting things to say, I suppose, and are strongly intertwined with the technology tracks. I mean, all our games are intertwined with the technology tracks, but
they're also, I mean, it's hard, to districate this topic from technology tracks and Firaks opening, and I would add round scoring bonuses. These are also important. When I decide what type of Firaks game I want to play, I also have to take a careful look to round scoring bonuses. So if I can maybe wrap up a little bit my thoughts about science tracks very rapidly. So economy is very important, especially early game. After you're done with economy and, I don't know, possibly science, I don't know, I think there is another choice that you have to make, which is navigation or terraforming. But sooner or later, you're going to go up terraforming, also because, and I'm going to say this, there is something very important for us on the top of the terraforming track. We really like the Federation token that sits on top of the terraforming track. This has not to do with openings. This has not to do with run scoring bonuses or anything else. But the point is that since we are terrible at expanding, as we said, we run the risk, and these very often happens in a Firaks game. We run the risk not to be able to form a third Federation on the board. Sad, hurtful, but true. Sometimes Firaks are not able to form that third Federation. One of the few factions that can really struggle, even with the simple task of forming a third Federation, which means that the Federation token that sits on top of the terraforming track is particularly important for us, because that means that we can top a science track, one of the tracks, and still have two Federation tokens that we can spend for another top or for some advanced technology style. And also we are good at doing that, because after we open our PI, we can climb up tracks really, really fast. So there are actually good chances if we can form an early Federation. That's a big if, because as we said, problems in early game expansion. But if we can form an early Federation, then it's rather easy for us to get on top of the terraforming track before everyone else. So just keep this in mind when you play Firaks and when you're considering science tracks. And then I don't think we need to talk about the Gaia track much more, because we already discussed that. We are not a Gaia forming faction. I wouldn't think of Firaks as a Gaia forming faction.
So there is this sort of school of thought, maybe it's more of a mob of thought anyway, which has a point for Gaia forming Firaks. But to be fair, I have tried that. I've seen that done a lot of times, but I have never actually seen Gaia forming Firaks working. This is the truth.
You're right.
Because
I agree.
But we have zero bonuses for placing Gaia formers down. We can just do that once or twice if need arise. If there are 4 points per Gaia planet in the late game, we will get to that. Sure.
And especially late game. So late game, you want to do some crazy Gaia forming tricks, or maybe you can think about it. But proper Gaia forming game with Firaks, I think you take away one of your strengths, that is, as I was saying, the good power cycle and terraforming. So there's plenty of things that do not work well with that.
So the thing you said about the Federation on top of the terraforming track, I think is so important that if the 12 points Federation is on top of the terraforming track, that can be a reason for discouraging me from picking Firaks, because that is very important.
Oh yeah.
Very important.
That's really a bummer.
We're going to top a lot of tracks if we want to. So those federations really are useful for us.
Yeah, Firaks definitely do not like the 12 points Federation token on top of terraforming track, because it does not give access to an extra top of science track or advanced technology style. Having said that, guess what? AI track is very good because it gives you QICs, and who do not like QICs? So yeah, you can go up there. Maybe we can discuss this later, but what is there to discuss? Having said these, openings. Matteo, leave the stage to you. I know you love this, and here, our most loyal followers, those that have been following us for a long time, they know that we have this thing going on with openings. The openings that Matteo likes, and the style of openings that Matteo likes, and the style of openings that I like, that do not necessarily always go hand in hand. And I think Firaks are an excellent example of this. Although I have to say that in the case of Firaks, Matteo has really convinced me to go for more, let's say, hardcore openings. Matteo, you explain what I'm talking about.
Okay, so important premise. Another very solid point that Arun described as essential is to open our Planetary Institute early, say around 1 or 2 at latest, because we want to start this mechanism, which we call the foundry, the Firak foundry of building and rebuilding your lab up and down.
Yeah. Also because you have one ability, guys. You use that, or why did you pick Firaks? So
no, well, actually, the true knowledge income is the other ability for us. But anyway,
yes, yeah, of course, but
that's not the same, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Firaks opening El Templo style works like this. You need both mines near your opponents or very, very good charge. But
El Templo style, I love this. So I'm going for an El Templo style opening here.
You
you don't know what an El Templo style opening is? I pity you.
And you need one ore from your booster, so that we get to or some. But try to keep with me. We get to 6 and 7. We become a normal faction. Okay. Then we have to build a lab. Getting the 1 ore and 1 QIC tile. And 99% of times we will also have to go up the terraforming track for the extra 2 ores, which can be done with this very move. I mean, you can open your lab basically for free and get in a QIC in the process and get in a bump on terraforming, or you can use...
Or for those who are listening who are not particularly good at math, we are now at 11 total ore. Please continue.
Or use foreknowledge to get those 2 extra ores, because what you want to do next is to build your planetary institute round 1, and then use your special ability to go up another step on the economy track, because you will have to go to economy 2 in either way. It depends. I mean, if the one and you have to get the 1 ore 1 Q tile in the process, because otherwise it's very, very unlikely that you have the ores you need, or you will have to spend your QICs to ore, which is not ideal. It can be done, but I mean, do your math before. Be sure that you will get all this ore, because if you open your lab and then open your trade station, it will be very hard to recover from that. I mean, unless you are playing that, but to deviate from this opening won't be very easy. Also, remember always that we start with 1 less ore, so that tile is important. But if you get that tile, then you are not getting an income tile for your following rounds. If you do not open your PI early, that is very bad. But if you decide to go Planetary Institute and Research Lab, that is awesome. That means that you will start your foundry to function from round 1. You will do 3 bumps on round 1, and these will likely be on terraforming step 1 and economy level 2.
Most definitely, yeah.
Which are the problems with this opening? The problem with this opening is just that expanding will be very hard. Also, it will be very delayed, and the income for round 2 won't be great, because we have 0 mines on the board. So we're getting just 2 ores as basic income, which is not enough to rebuild our lab round 2. So be careful with boosters to do this. This is very extreme. It also works wonders and is super fun in my opinion, and can do extremely well with some round scoring bonuses. Otherwise, just 2 quick words. We can just build a lab for an income tile and then use our QIC, maybe the step booster, the step action, to open with 1 lab, 1 trade station, and ideally 2 mines, but we really are 4. So let's say 1 mine. That's good. That's okay.
Well, my point is, if you can build the 2 mines, then I think that's a very good Firaks opening. So 1 research lab, 1 trading station, and 2 mine, placing 2 extra mines on the map round 1, that's a very good Firaks opening, because it sort of makes our non-expansion problem a little less severe, and in the process you can go to economy step 2, and so you are in for a very good round 2, because you will have a reasonable amount of resources. You will have 5 credits, you will have 4 ores, that's pretty good, 3 knowledge. I mean, you're in for a decent round 2. The opening Matteo was describing has the advantage that you will also have a very good power situation starting round 2, because you will be charging 6 at the beginning of the round, which means that that depends on what you did with your power round 1 and how much you charge. But there are decent chances that you can get maybe the 2-or action round 2. So it's an extreme opening, the one Matteo described. It will leave you thirsty for resources, or in particular round 2. And it's not always the case that you can pull that off, because that depends on the presence of neighbors, first of all. Even when you have neighbors, that's the most expensive. PI and Research Lab is the most expensive opening in the game. Is not only 11 ores, but 17 credits, which means you need to get the 2 extra. Even if you get all the ores in the way we described, you still need to get the 2 extra credits from somewhere, right? Which means basically from your power cycle. So a very good booster that you can take round 1 is 2 credits and 1 QAC, if you're ready to sacrifice that QAC as an ore, because that solves all your problems. You have the 2 extra credits and you have the extra ore that you need. Another thing that you can do is, if you manage to get 5 power tokens in bowl 3, not impossible round 1, and you have taken the booster, any booster that gives you an extra ore, then you can just spend those 5 tokens that you have in bowl 3 for 1 or 2 credits. And this allows you to take a different basic tactiles with your research lab. So you don't take the extra ore from the basic tactile, you still get to 11, and you can take whatever you want, whatever it is that you need. Charge for it is very good, for instance. 1 credit, 1 knowledge. Why not? I like that tile with Firaks, because it means every round 3 knowledge points. That helps us. 1 ore, 1 charge 1, since we are constantly hungry for ore. I mean, there are options. So anyways, Firaks, I recommend one of these 2 openings, and these strongly depends on, well, not strongly, but it also depends on round scoring bonuses. So let's get it out of the way.
I decided to talk about the 1 ore, 1 QAC tile, because that grants us that opening, which is important. But if we can do that by taking, say, the charge 4, I mean, maybe by charging 4, we get the resources we need to build our PI, then sure, that's better. Go for it. That's perfect. Anyway, you will, of course, in an ideal world, we can end up round 1 at economy 3 and an income tile, but we need to be really lucky with the charging from other players. We need to have a perfect situation, a perfect booster. What I was describing is something which is easily achievable and is still good, because economy 2 is fine and terraforming 1 is not bad, because we are going to go up terraforming anyway. So we're just 1 step ahead from 1.
Normally, other factions, I do not like this idea of, taking the terraforming bump round 1, because yes, you're getting the 2 ores. Yes, maybe you will climb up that track later, but you're sacrificing an important bump round 1. But with Firaks, I'm on board with that.
You want to talk about round scorings, I think?
I do, yes. What I wanted to say about round scoring is that if round 1, the round scoring bonus that you have round 1 is 4 points for trading station, and you're playing Firaks, then you should seriously consider the opening that Matteo described, because that is going to net you 12 points. 12 points from round scoring bonuses round 1. That's really good, because you will build 1 train station, then you will build another, and then you will downgrade your research lab. And I mean, if it's 3 points for train station, it's still good. It's still 9 points. 4, obviously, is excellent. Also, why not 5 points per large building round 1? Well, Firaks are not unhappy with that, because they can open their PI round 1 and score 5 points. But let's be very clear about this. The opening that Matteo described is totally worthless unless you are guaranteed to build a research lab round 2. I mean, it makes no sense to open your PI round 1 and then not being able to rebuild your research lab round 2 to use your PI ability. At that point, why did you open your PI? You're not using your ability. So be careful. That's a good opening, can be a powerful opening, but you have to be ready to rebuild that research lab round 2, which of course is one of the few things you're going to do round 2. And this is why we're saying Firaks are really slow at expanding. If you go down the road, you will be really, really slow at expanding. An alternative that I also like is when the round scoring bonuses for round 2 is large building, because in that case, I start the game as I described by opening one research lab, one training station, couple of mines, and then round 2 I build my PI out of my trading station that I already have on the board and score 5 points. And maybe round 1 I've scored some points, maybe 3-4 points per trading station is 6-8 points. Maybe, I don't know, 2 points per mine I scored 4 points. I mean, doable. We also definitely like the 2 points per advancement. We like that round 1 we can score 4-6 points round 1. We like that round 2 we can always score easily 4-6 points with that with Firaks. And if it happens in the right turn, maybe round 6 around 5-6 when we also take the 1 point per planet type basic tactile, and then maybe we can have crazy round with 4-5 bumps and score 8-10 points out of that round scoring bonuses. Why not? That's possible. So we like that. What we have a very weird relation with is the 5 points per large building, because that is only good for Firaks if it's on the round in which we open our PI, which is either, as Arun was saying, round 1 or round 2. But we do not like that round scoring bonuses later on, because Firaks normally don't really like to open their academies. Maybe they open one round 6. I mean, it's perfectly doable. You can open an academy around 4 or around 5. The point is that when you build an academy, you remove one of your research lab from the board, probably the only one that you have open, and so you cannot use your ability. So in that round, you got to choose between using your PI ability or building that academy is worth 5 points for you. So not really so we have a weird relation with that round scoring objective.
In general, we have to always keep an eye on the buildings we have on our board, because also remember that to downgrade your lab, you need to have a trade station on your board. So be careful with trade station rounds. We will talk about them now. We are the best faction for them, basically. Do not put them down altogether, because if you do that, you have to build one lab in order to have a trade station on your board before you can use your downgrade ability. For academies, this is exactly the same. In the late game, also remember that you can open an academy, form a federation with that, and thus, in the process, getting the resources to rebuild your lab. So always think about these things when playing Firaks. But yeah, academies really are not our piece of cake. And this is where I think there are the most stones unturned in Gaia project, because one might think that opening academy is good for Firaks, but because we have 2 knowledge income basic. So if we open our knowledge academy, we can just go up any track we like and still have a technology bump per round. And you know what? I am not sure that this is wrong. I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying that maybe early academies can be something. I don't know. But in that case, we have a problem, because even if we open, we have 2 problems. The first one is that we are poor. So we don't have the resources to do this. It's hard for us. And we are not ETARs. Because if they open their academy, okay, they also have the granted bump. But then they also open their PI early. And at that point, they are done. They don't have to do anything else. If instead we build our academy and then our PI, we'll still have to build also a research lab in order to use our ability. This is the reason why early academy I don't think is a good idea. But please prove me wrong if that's not the case. Anyway, late academy can be played as I was saying. So build the academy, take the tile, form a federation, get the resources, and then build your lab and downgrade and so on. Don't avoid that actively in the late game. Firaks are very cool and interesting, remember.
Very rapidly, just to to cover the other round scoring objectives.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what? We are not particularly good at the ones that involves placing a lot of mines on the map. Yeah, surprise, surprise. As Matteo said, yes, you can try some weird shenanigans, because of which if you have a round 6, maybe 4 points per Gaia planet, then you make this crazy rush on Gaia forming track round 5, then you take a couple of transit planets. But the point is that at that point, there's probably going to be a lot of competition there. So either nobody went for them in the early game, or at that point that might be too late. What we really like, however, this is round scoring bonuses, as you might have understand by now, me and Matteo in general really like this, is the 2 points per terraforming step. So in the perfect scenario, the perfect storm that we were describing at the beginning, when you have this late game expansion in which you try to gobble up every planet that's left, it doesn't really matter what planet we're talking about at this point, because there's a couple left on the board and you just want them very aggressively. And that's probably super expensive planets. You're going to spend a lot for them anyways, but they're good for you because they're helping you with the main scoring objective, with of course is planet types, because you're a good Gaia project player. And then you can also maybe score 12 points by terraforming 2 very expensive planets. So that in general late game, it's a good objective for us.
Agreed. In general, I think that late mine objectives are better for us. I mean, the best thing is that they are not there at all. But if mine rounds have to be, then it's better if they are late in the game, because I mean, as all build-up factions and terraforming factions, it's better for us. A late step round is great. Late Gaias are not, but we can try to exploit, our ability to go up the TRAKS regardless. So, yeah, agreed. But now let's talk about, finally, the very good ones. Trade Station, 3 and 4 points for them.
I already commented that in the sense that round 1, spectacular. Round 1, if you can pull off the Templos style opening, that's going to give you a lot of points. And in general, well, you know what? TRAKS guarantee you at least 1 trading station per round, because they have the extra one, right? They build. So the point with Firaks is that you don't have to decide, should I build a research lab or should I build a trading station to get the points out of the round scoring objective? Well, guess what? You're going to get both, and that's good. So this is very good early game, and it is also good mid-late game, because mid-late game, maybe you can really score 12, 16 points even out of that, because maybe you have the resources to build some 3 trading station plus a research lab. Why not? I've done that. I mean, you can do that for with every faction. Obviously, you can build 3 train station in the round of the train station bonuses. But Firaks, they give you an extra one because of the research lab. So yeah, we tend to like.
And also, Firaks give you a train station just with a single action without spending a penny, which is not something other factions have at their disposal if you already have the lab in play.
Yeah, true, exactly. I think these has some connection with the topic of the advanced tactiles, Matteo. What you think? Because if you are Firaks, you can go and grab the normally despised 3 points per trading station advanced tactile and finally get some value out of that. Maybe not a lot, but some value out of that.
We finally have a faction which is actively good at that tile. Come on, it's good. It's very good for us.
Yeah, it's good.
Once you have that, just play normally. Don't act weird. You don't need to place extra trade stations. If you want to, you can say last round, go crazy with trading station, building labs. Don't worry, just play normally, use your ability each round, of course. That's very, very important, of course, each round. But you should do this regardless. Build your lab each round, downgrade it, and score in the process. I'd even rush that if it's, on top of economy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that advanced style on top of economy is very good for Firaks, because it means you're going up economy, so you're getting resources, and you're totally gonna get that tile because nobody likes it, nobody wants it. Also, I mean, that tile is so bad in general that people will say, "Oh, yeah, really? That's what is on top of economy. I'm not gonna even. I'm not even gonna climb economy. I'm not even pick a faction that's gonna climb up economy because I don't want that advanced tactile. That's useless. But you want it. So that's good on top of economy. That's good on top of Terra. Consider this. You take it like no rush. You take it round 4. That's totally doable, entirely average thing to do. And you do so round 4, round 5, round 6, you downgrade 3 times. That's 9 points, right? That's a baseline. That's 9 points that you're gonna get no matter what. It takes a really, really little effort to build an extra 2 trading station in 3 rounds, and get to 15 points, which is an average, good, normal, advanced tactile.
You have to do that to form federations. So it's nothing.
Yeah,
You're just playing Gaia project. You're doing nothing.
Exactly. And of course, if as we were saying, one of these last, especially round 5, round 6, you have round scoring bonuses, build more trading station, then you can just explode. Then you can just maybe build, I don't know, a total of in 3 rounds. Maybe you can build some 7 trading station and score 21 points with a single advanced tactile. That's really good. That's something you want to look for if you're playing Firaks. Another thing you want to look for if you're playing Firaks, and the only difference here is that there will be other people coveting that tile. So careful. So that's the 2 points per advanced tactile. If that sits on top of economy, and you can grab that, and maybe you can grab that because
you will grab that. Come on.
You will get to the top of economy very, very, very fast. If you can get round 3, that's gonna be a good Firaks game.
Whoa.
2 points per advancement. I mean, Firaks, they just get a lot of advancement. You're sure that you will get a minimum of 4 points out of that tile.
I remember scoring 36 with that tile.
No, I mean, you can go totally insane. And remember that, I mean, you can do, crazy tricks because of which you haven't climbed the science track, and then round 5 or round 6, boom, you just, nobody's expecting that, right? And you take 4 bumps on the science track, round 5. And there was one guy on top of the track that thought he had all the time in the world, and then no, bump, you're there. And maybe you can steal the top of the science track from them and score an insane amount of points with that advanced tactile. So the round scoring bonuses is good, but the tile is great. The tile is really, really great.
And the 2 points are ridiculous. You are getting 8 points for an advancement of level 3 or 4. That's
that's insane. That's insane. That's really Firaks Christmas Land is round 6. You both have the advanced tactile and the round scoring bonuses. And of course, at that point, be very careful. You want to take the 1 knowledge point per planet type on round 6 and go completely nuts with science. All right. We're getting overexcited. This is Firaks Christmas Land. But sometimes it does happen, and when it happens, it's a good feeling.
I think that tile maybe is better on top of terraforming, because that's like the second track we are climbing, or an early one. One of the first which we want to go to the top of. So, and also if it's on top of economy, okay, let's say that Tacrons are not there because we said that we don't like Browning games. So maybe we pick 4 and we're Firaks. But
Hatshalas might be there.
But both reds are a problem. Both reds are
exactly
a problem. Pirates could do that with usual ease, and we can not do much about that. And also Hadshalas are a real problem because they are very similar to us regarding to them play. They can be. But if they want to, then it will be a knife fight for that tile on top of economy. Not that we cannot win that. We can win that. But Hadshalas can get to the top of economy round 1. So I mean, it's hard. It's not easy for them to federate, but it's not easier than it is for us to federate. But we can win that knife fight, but it's going to be very, very hard. So if it's on top of terraforming, I think that Firaks are a good pick for that tile.
So rapidly, the other advanced tactiles, there are 2 that gives us point for our federation tokens. Guess what? We don't like those. In general, these are two of the advanced tactiles that there is most competition for. So it's already very hard because of all the pressure that you have to get the 3 points per federation token or 5 points per federation token. But on top of that, Firaks, they tend to form very few federations, and maybe the first they can form early game, but then the others are going to come late. And so these tiles are really not good for Firaks. And I would say we do not like them, unless maybe you can make a case for 3 points per federation token sitting on top of terraforming. So you top the terraforming track, you take the federation token and then you take 3 points per federation token tile before anybody can steal it from you. But it's not really gonna happen. You're gonna lose this game.
I don't agree with this. It's not. I mean, that tile is not. It's good for us. It's still good.
It's only good. It's only good if it sits on top on terraforming, and even that.
It's not the reason for which I'm picking Firaks. I mean, but if that tile is even on top of economy, I say why not? I mean,
all right, yalla, come on. How come?
No,
everybody's going to rush for that.
Okay, red is going.
This is me and Matteo disagreeing. This is live. This is happening now. Me and Matteo disagreeing.
No. It's not that I mean, it's not that I wholeheartedly disagree. I'm just saying that it's not. It's not. No, okay. It's not bad for us under the respect of scoring, but that largely depends whether or not we are getting to the top of Terra. So, okay, I'll concede it's better on top of terraforming for sure, and the 12 points federation tile does not have to be there, because in that case we are not helped by that, as we were saying. Especially in this case, we need that extra because it's extra points if we get the tile. But it's not that bad. Of course, my ideal Firaks game has 2 points per advancement and 3 points per trading station on top of economy, the terraforming, and does not have those tiles in play, because they are going to net more to other players than they are for us.
Yeah.
But well, if you are fourth, you think you have a chance at getting that on top of economy. Why not getting Firaks? I mean, it's not something which screams Firaks, of course, but if it's there, consider that maybe you have the opportunity to get that tile. If it's not a game, it's better, just better.
But always remember that if there is a competitive player that really wants to win the game, and you have the 3 points per federation advanced tile sitting on top of economy, someone is bound to take EVITs, and you will never see that. So either for a fact that EVITs are not going to be in play, or you're just not going to get it. So,
no, I was saying if you are fourth pick, because otherwise don't risk. No. Otherwise, if the tile is in play, do not consider Firaks before the fourth position. If it's on top of economy or science, if it's on top of science, we are never getting that. Never. But exactly. If it's on top of economy, just be fourth pick. If it's on top of Terra, But anyway, that's not a reason to pick Firaks, in my opinion. But okay. So 4 points per trading station.
Yeah, maybe you can do 4 points per trading station. Yes, why not? I mean, we discussed all the things that you can do with trading stations before, and well, that's especially good if you have a round 6 trading station round, and then you also get the one. But again, that calls for competition, and Traks do not like competition. Good God, they do not like competition.
The only competition we like is that for the 3 points per trading station, because it doesn't exist. That's
exactly true. And then you have all these advanced tiles that have to do with mines. 3 points per mine every time you place a mine on the board. 2 points per every mine you have on the board. And guess what? We don't like it. We're terrible. We're terrible at them. Don't go for those.
I mean, 2 points per mine. If I'm there, maybe, and especially 2 points per Gaia, I can take to deny it.
Yeah, 2 points.
The only problem is that you know what? I need my federation tokens to get to the top of TRAKS, and I don't want to spend one for 2 points per Gaia planet. I really don't, because it's wasted.
Agreed.
So
the last one I think we need to discuss is 2 points per sector. Well, there's probably people who are better than us at that. They will aim for that tile from the beginning. So I mean, yes, why not? Maybe around 6, we got to a decent amount of sectors, but especially if sectors one of the objectives in play. But then again, competition. So I mean, still better than mines and Gaia's, of course, but not our strongest pick, I would say.
Well, then there's the points per planet type. It can, I mean, if it's there,
yes.
If it's there, I think I'm getting it, to be honest. But I'm not picking Firaks for that. But if nobody else wants it, it's round 4. Why not? I'm good at terraforming.
You know what, Matteo? I think it's time we say something about the 1 point per planet type advanced tech tiles. It is by far the weirdest advanced tech tile that exists in the, because we always downplay that tile. I try to do it justice, when we're discussing advanced tech tiles. I know, but sometimes the point is, sometimes that's gonna score you a huge amount of points. I've seen very good games won, by the use of that advanced tech tile. So I'm not gonna say it's bad. You can have a very good, even a good Firak game with that advanced tech tile, but that is so context dependent, so conditional, that advanced tech tile, that I don't even want to say anymore, this style is good for this faction, or this style is not good for this faction. I mean, if you're a Gaia forming faction, of course, that's horrible. But if you're just a normal faction, that really depends on a huge amount of factors. So yes, that tile sitting on top of Terra with Firaks, why not? Yes, you can do that. You can take it and you can score very good points. Or
especially on Terra.
Or that can be trash. That really depends. So I don't want to talk about that anymore. We'll change topic. I want to change the subject.
Let me just say something about the advanced tiles for resources, because one ore per sector is the usual stuff we always say. It can we have 2 additional problems. We are not the best at sectors, definitely, and we don't have many federation tokens. So each advanced tile and each top of track has to be chosen carefully, and this can be a waste of that. But on the other hand, it can give you a lot of ore, say even 6 or 7. That's okay. Towards the end of the game, which can really make the difference between making or not making the 3rd federation. So consider that you are very good at late game building. And so consider that maybe with that tile, by getting that, maybe you can open another federation, and so you can top another research track. And that's all of the good things I can say about the tile. But about buttons, you know what? The 3 resource buttons, 3 ores, once per round, 3 knowledge, and 5 credits, and 1 QIC. Recently, I am in love with buttons. I love them because I played them I picked one of them in this crazy Baltax game, which I described in the last episode, the one before this one. And that was fantastic. And I had Baltax, which notoriously aren't the best faction and also are not great federation formers. But also, thanks to that tile, I had 0 difficulties in forming my 3rd federation. And I am thinking right now that I want to try Firaks by taking round 3, that button on top of economy. One of those, I want to try that. Taking it round 3 is hard. Maybe even 4 can be fine, but 3 it really makes the difference. So I don't have recommendations for this, but I really want to try that, and I recommend you to try that as well, because I think it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
You just heard Matteo experimenting on you. You heard what you just said? So I recommend you to try. I want to try that. I recommend you to try that. I just want to use you for the purpose of data gathering. Don't fall for this. Don't go for those batons.
This is the worst possible light that you could shed on my words. The worst. Okay,
All right,
so
all right.
3 points per train station, 2 points per advancement. Just stop the knowledge and or the economy track, and everything will be fine. I recommend the top of economy because you can have extra resources for your late game building, which is important for. Done with tiles. Basic tactiles, I don't think are really important for us because we're getting them all anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, no, that is true. I mean, it's not like Firaks are, oh, whoa, we really need to be careful about the placement of these or that basic tactiles. Yeah, it's that from that point of view is relaxing, playing Firaks, because you can go up any track you want. Sooner or later in the game, you'll get them probably. Save a couple of them, but the non-important ones. So we totally do not care about the 3 points per Gaia planet. So who cares where that is? So if there is a track that you really don't want to go up, so it's a good thing if the 3 points per Gaia planet sits on the bottom of that track. So you are dispensed from even thinking about it, from ever dealing with that. But apart from that, I'm going to say one thing: the 4 credit tactile. Basic tactile, the one that gives you 4 credits start of each round, it's better for other factions than it is for us, because we tend to always have some train station open, so we are not so desperate for credits as other factions may be. So it's not my first pick, it's not even my second pick. I'd sooner pick the 1 ore charge 1. I'd sooner pick the 1 knowledge 1 credit instead of that specific basic tactile.
Yeah, we're one of those factions which actually likes more the 1 ore and charge 1.
And I think we totally love the charge 4 because it makes our very good power cycle even better. So yeah,
I think we are the faction which likes it the most, just below Taklons and Nevlas for obvious reasons. It's very, very, very good.
Well, Evids and Terrans like that tile quite a lot. But yes, I agree.
No, but I don't think more than we do, Okay, Terrans have the opposite synergy, but I don't think more than we do, because we really like
now we're discussing who loves it. Well, I love you more. No, I love you more, charge 4.
No, that's I don't like that with Ivits, for example. But anyway, who cares?
All right.
Terrans, very good example, but I think that it's good for us as well. Yeah, the 3 point per Gaia, we can maybe take that to the round in the late game, which gives us points for Gaias. If we don't have other tiles to grab that round, we can grab that, build our 2-3 Gaias if we were able to, and it's 6 to 9 points. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's okay.
Again, maybe in the Gaia forming TRAKS scenario, we discussed the Gaia forming TRAKS scenario. I don't believe very strongly in the Gaia forming TRAKS scenario, but it can happen, and in that case, yes, why not?
If it happens,
6 points, why not?
Other tiles, again, we're getting all of them.
Yes, remember, the only tile you want to be careful with is the placement of the 1 knowledge per planet type, because we love that tile because we tend to have several planet types, especially in the late game, and it synergizes very well with our ability of climbing tracks very fast and climbing a lot of them. So you want to extract maximum value out of that if possible. So just have a look at where that is placed.
We also are quite dependent on the 4 power value for larger buildings because we are not building much. So
right.
In order to Confederation, we need that. And
I was forgetting that, but that's true.
Since we're getting the tons of tiles anyway, I suggest you to consider that tile early, even round 2, if it helps you to form an early federation. Say maybe round 2 is too early, but round 3 is great. So you can form a federation on the go on round 3 and get an early advanced tile if you. It's going to be hard this way because you need to get 2. I don't know, maybe even round 2. I don't know. It depends on the game, but
I agree. That's an important time for us, and you want to be careful with that.
Can give us a federation which isn't horrible, and also an early advanced style. So yeah, consider that because it's important for us. We're not building much. On the other hand, we need academies to really make that work. So I think you can even take that and cover that with an advanced style.
Yeah. After you form your first federation, agreed.
It's okay.
Yeah, sad but true.
It's okay. Maybe you can cover that with a resource button. I don't know.
Maybe. Let's try that, folks.
Try that and then tell me.
And then let us know, huh?
Okay, so I think this is it for the technologies. We talked a lot about that, but TRAKS are all about it somehow. So it was important, I think. And now we could quickly pass, I think, to power and QAC actions quickly, because I don't think there's much to say here, except that maybe the 4 QAC action is not our favorite one, because we are getting lots of text anyway. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, we do not have any special relationship with the 4 QAC action. The usual, I'd say, especially if you care about 4 points per trading station, advanced tactile. That's always good to take with the 4 QAC action. But I mean, that's a very, very borderline case. Apart from that, we are not in desperate need of taking even more tactiles, getting some extra bump. So yes, of course, since we do not always score the third federation on the board, taking some QAC action could be good during the game. So maybe a couple of rescore fed or points per planet types. That could help our point situation in the late game, I guess.
Well, sure, we are getting various planet types anyway, so that action is going to be like an easy one for us, I suppose. The rescore fed is good as always, so not much to say here, unless that, unless we're going up the QIC track, we are not having tons of QICs, so probably we are accessing them late in the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's my point. That normal thing to do is that you see people starting climbing the QAC track round 5, or maybe maybe this is something that people just do around 6. My point is that Firaks, if they really want to, they have the possibility of doing that earlier, maybe sacrificing something. I mean, once you're level 4 economy, level 4 terraforming, and you're taking a couple of steps on the navigation track, you could even decide that you start climbing the QAC track before other people do. And so maybe around 4 and 5, you can have less competition and take some QAC action, so that you are sure that you're able to get some point out of QAC action. Because the point is, as we say, Firaks tend to score a lot on the science track, but not a lot on federations on average. So the advantage that you have on science track, you can lose because you do not have the third or fourth federation token. So it's good for you if you can somehow compensate for that with some QAC action. This is just general idea. Of course, this is true for every faction, but I think there is something there to be said for Firaks. And as far as power actions are concerned, is there anything that we particularly love? I think there is, to be honest.
But I think I imagined that anyway.
Yeah, it's the 2K action, the 2 knowledge power action.
Okay, but it was my guess as well.
The point is that since we have this 2 knowledge income every round, of course that action is very good for us, because it brings us to 4 knowledge total, and it allows us to take an extra step on some technology track. So again, that depends on what kind of game you want to play with Firaks. If you want to do the science or partial science strategy that Matteo was suggesting earlier, at a certain point climb a couple of steps on the science track, so that at the beginning of each round you have the 4 knowledge. But if you don't do that, if you don't climb up science, you will end up getting 2 knowledge points each round, and so you can round them up to 4 with a 2 knowledge action. And of course, round 1, since we have this dire or situation, round 1 the 2 or action is very good for us, and I would say even round 2. Firaks do love that. I mean, everybody does. Everybody loves the 2 or action, but given the fact that Firaks start with 1 less or, they particularly love, I think, that action rounds 1 and 2 in the early game especially.
I think I played several games with Firaks where I took that action like 4 or 5 times per game in the end, because we have a very good charge, especially if we go up economy. I mean, even if we stop at level 2 for some rounds, we still charge 6. So it's easy for us to have almost always the 4 powers in both 3 at the beginning of the round. And I find myself considering that all in all, that action is basically always worth taking as a first move. So yeah, this is correct, but I think it's quite intuitive. I mean, during the game, you will start your rounds, see that you have the power, that you are not very rich in ore, and you will end up taking that action.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. So I think this is it for power and QSA action. There is one last topic we haven't discussed. We normally do these earlier during the episode. This time we just left them as the last subject to be treated. But we haven't discussed round boosters.
Round boosters are, I think, a topic about which we can find lots of satisfaction with Firaks. Speaking about the scoring ones, I think.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, there is this weird relationship. It's a bit like with BESCODS, we have this weird relationship with the 4 points per large building one, because as the same as with BESCODS, we tend not to open our academies, and so that booster is not gonna. So normally late game taking that booster means 12 points for normal factions, right? 12 points is a lot, so there is a lot of competition for that booster. But we do not get to do that. It's very rare that you see Firaks ending a game with both academies open along their PI, the 3 large buildings on the board. So that's not worth a lot for us in the late game. However, I would recommend, if you're planning the extreme opening with the PI and research lab, and that booster is available, it's gonna net you 4 points in the other round, right? So the point is that you miss one ore. We discussed this. If you want to do that opening, you need to take round 1 a booster with 1 ore. But if you are certain that that booster will grant you access to the 2 ore action round 1, then you can go for it. And when I say if you're certain, what I mean is Ivits are not in play, Taclons are not in play, and Itars are not in play, because these are 3 factions that can easily burn power and outpace you to the 2 ore actions. So you have to be very careful about this faction. But if those are not in play and you can get that booster, then there are decent chances that you will get the 2 ore action. So that's something that you can consider in certain specific circumstances. Round 1.
Well, if I take that booster round 1, I will most likely burn 2 power as my first action in the game and take the 2 ore action, because it's very expensive in terms of power, but I am building my PI round 1 anyway, and in that case I am completely sure that I cope with my ore deficiency round 1, because as you said, that booster doesn't help under that regard. And I will do this especially if the 1 ore and 2 extra power tokens booster is in play.
Right. Yeah, sure. Of course. But I mean, that it's really circumstantial, but you can also not burn the 2 power tokens and just wait for somebody to make you charge. That depends on the disposition of everyone's buildings on the board, and that depends on how high the risk is that somebody gets to the 2 ore action before you. But there are some situations in which that that's not going to happen, that nobody can, because you already have charge 4 and people are still lagging behind. So maybe you can wait and then take it without even burning power. That you have to evaluate that on a case-by-case basis. Otherwise, round 1 is very good booster. Of course, you can take the 1 ore, 1 knowledge.
Sure.
That's always nice. I mean, then it's not clear what you're going to do with the extra knowledge point. It's not going to come in handy in the first rounds on the game, but maybe it will help you later on.
Well, I already named the 1 ore and 2 extra power tokens booster, but apart from that specific situation, I don't think that we have any special relationship with that booster, especially because we are building our Planetary Institute round 1 or 2. So we are not lacking power in general.
Exactly.
Maybe if satellites in play, it helps us as it may help everybody else. But it can help when you have a lot of charge and your power is basically already charged at the end of the round. Maybe it's in bowl 2 or 3. And in that case, you can take the most out of your charge at the beginning of the round by taking that booster. So keep an eye on that, because that can snowball very nicely. And once you have like 8 powers charged in bowl 3, well, that counts a lot. So do not discount this opportunity if it arises.
Yeah. Another good round 1 may be, as I already said, that 2 credits and 1 CAQ, if you're ready to convert that CAQ into an OR in order to perform the PI research lab opening. But maybe, just maybe, you get lucky, you get a lot of charge round 1, and you don't even have to sacrifice the QIC, because you take the 2 OR action, or you can produce 1 extra OR with your power. So you never know. So that's a good booster, of course, to have in place, especially round 1. And or if you're going for the other opening, like research lab, training station, and 2 mines, then of course, step round 1 is very, very good.
Yes. Regarding the QIC and 2 credit, well, the step round 1 doesn't help us in the build-up opening. But
No.
But both boosters have. And if you're, by the way, if you are taking the step booster, you are not doing that opening anyway, because otherwise the step is useless.
Yeah, of course.
Both these boosters have a nice advantage for the build-up opening. Well, maybe only the QIC one at this point, but because it gives us 2 credits, which we need anyway to perform that opening.
Exactly.
We will have to obtain more ore from our power, but we do not need those 2 extra credits. So
Exactly. And also, if you can lay your hands round 1 on the +3 range booster, that's very good. And I recommend that. I mean, if you can do that, let's be clear. The 2 mines, training station, and research lab opening is a very good opening for Firaks. And some early expansion is not, it's a good thing for Firaks, since we have spent the whole episode discussing how hard it is for Firaks to expand. Having some early boost in that sense is not bad. So again, step round 1 or +3 range round 1, that you take 1 extra planet, you take 1 extra home planet, that can really help you.
I think that these boosters, the value of this booster also depends on the, of course, round scoring, round 1. If it's trading stations, of course, we're going for the build-up opening. But if it's, I don't know, a game where planet types is in play, maybe we can take that booster and take a Gaia planet without any particular effort. Maybe round 1 is also for Gaia planets.
Yeah, true, exactly.
And we are fixing the Gaia planet question once and for all. That can be
agreed.
Of course, it completely depends on the map, but
agreed. A good Gaia planet round 1 could be a good thing for us. And speaking of Gaia planets, I think the one booster that we hate the most, that really the Firaks cannot extract any value from, is the 4 credit and points per Gaia planets, because as we said, we are not a faction who is thirsty for credits as other factions are, because we always have some train station open. And so that 4 credits, 4 credits are always good, but are not as fundamental for us as they are for other factions. And we just don't have Gaia planets. And maybe, we discussed this over and over again in the course of this episode. Yes, maybe you will get some Gaia planets round 5, but even then, you're not going to end the game with more than 3 Gaia planets. So that booster is really, really not going to help us, but it's going to help our opponents a lot.
I'm not saying that if that booster is in play, you should not play Firaks, but do not discount it as well. Because if it's a Gaia game, you want to be the only one who doesn't Gaia form at all. So you say, okay, I will have this advantage. If that booster is in play, that can be very impactful on the game, actually. Because
that's going to give a lot of points, a lot of resources to your opponents.
Yeah,
and also I have to say, points per mines is not exactly our favorite. It gives you an extra ore, so that's nice at least.
Not bad.
But as we said, Firaks tend not to play with so many mines open, especially early game. Maybe late game you can extract some value out of that. But I mean, it's still better than points per Gaia planets, of course.
But there's a booster that we like, and it's weird.
Is the 2 points per trading station. It's not so good round one. I mean, round one you can take it and you score 2 points, and whatever opening you decide
Still
to
better
go for,
than the Mines
2
booster.
points. Still better than the Mine booster, exactly, and gives you the ore that you need. So why not? But the point is that we will always finish every round with at least 1 trading station open. And if we have that booster, or if there are some other trading stations bonuses in play in terms of advanced tactiles or round scoring bonuses, then it's really easy for us to end a round with 2 or 3 trading stations in play. And I mean, we're probably the faction that can extract the most value out of that. So it's the other way around for us. We really like that booster. And another thing that we do not like, unfortunately, is the 3 points per research lab booster.
Okay,
because our research lab.
That's the worst for us.
I still think that that's the worst. That's the worst because that single knowledge point does not help, and we're not going to score probably any point out of that. So
again,
really bad.
There are factions which can extract tons of value from that. So it's similar to the Gaia planets, and even worse, maybe because like BESCODS or Neblas can really score a lot out of the booster, while we just lag behind them.
Yeah. So summing up, as you see, one of the problems the Firaks have is that they have bad to average relations with most boosters, especially the one that gives you point. They don't get points out of the research lab ones. They don't get many points out of the large building ones. They don't get many points out of the Gaia ones and the mines ones. So this is a problem in every Firaks game that you have to face. You'll have to find a solution for the fact that your opponents are scoring probably more points than you via round boosters.
Yeah, I realized while you were talking that we didn't talk about the advanced technology tile, which gives you 3 points for each research lab at the end of the round. But it's easy.
We didn't.
But it's super easy because it's the same reasoning which we just made for that booster. That's one of the worst ones for us. I mean, probably it's the worst one because we really are getting few points from that in general.
Yeah, if any at all, I mean.
If any at all. And again, there are factions which can really score out of that one. So not just one to avoid, I think.
Yeah. The point is that Firaks, they have this weird relationship with certain components of the game that tend to be really good for other factions, and Firaks are just indifferent to them. So you have to plan a path to scoring, a plan for a path to victory. And this is why Firaks are not so versatile, because there are only certain contexts in which they can excel. But if certain advanced tactiles, certain boosters are not in play, certain objectives are not in play, then Firaks become borderline unplayable. That's one. No, not borderline unplayable. You can still, try to score some 50 points on the TRAKS, and
impossible to win, I would say. That is the problem.
Almost impossible to win. Yeah.
Just
so
impossible.
This is if we have to wrap up this whole episode, I would say that this is the thing that you have to keep in mind. Firaks are hard to win with because of these reasons, and so at the beginning of the game you have to look at the setup very carefully and think, all right, is this a setup in which Firaks stand a reasonable chance to win the game, because there are enough points that they get access to.
Yeah, I would say that Firaks, all in all, are a very cool faction, are very fun.
Yeah, they are, definitely.
They have a unique play style, which is very, very fun and can be very strong in the right conditions. All in all, we end up having, as many say, some sort of a bit weaker ITARs, because they also tend to take a lot of tiles. They go up the TRAKS, and that's somehow true. But we have this unique ability of scoring a lot from the trading stations. So we should really take advantage of that and look out for rounds. If the last 3 rounds of a game are in any order, the 2 trading station bonuses and advancement bonuses, Firaks are going to do great that game.
Yeah,
even if one of their worst enemies is in play, because they have so many advantages that they really can score a lot out of that.
yeah.
I know that, anyway, they're very cool. I know that they are really loved and played a lot in the Indian community. So shout out and hello to them.
True.
I know that they really love Firaks. In the end, it's hard to win with them, but when you do, it usually is a spectacular win.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I agree. So, Matteo, I have a question before we finish the episode. Before you mentioned the fact that Arun and Babuk sent us some pre-errata about the episode, and we mentioned some of the things that Arun wrote us. And I haven't heard the name of Babuk mentioned ever since. Did he say something, something intelligent, something smart, something worth quoting about Firaks? Or we're just, throwing all that he wrote into the dumpsters?
Sure he did. No, I basically integrated what they said.
All right. Okay.
While I was talking. Anyway, they both agreed that, of course, the Planetary Institute should be built during the first 2 rounds, if possible.
Right.
Babuk also cited a game where he played against a Firak player who started Navigation 2. And this was really funny because he wrote that he was beaten by him. And by beaten, I mean that I arrived 4th and he arrived 3rd. So I think that's an extra element for us to conclude that maybe Economy 2 is the best, even the easiest way to end your round 1. I'm curious to play like Science 2 once, but I don't know. I really don't know what I'm going to do round 2 in that case.
Last thing I can say is an anecdote. I played a live game of Gaia Project some weeks ago, and it was just the 3 of us, so it was a 3 players game, not a 4-player game. And I had this, so I picked Firaks, and I had this terrible round 1. So I was, I don't know, maybe not, paying attention too much, not very focused on the game at the time. And so I decided I would go for the PI opening, but then I messed up and couldn't get enough ore to do the PI opening. So I ended up doing this super bad round 1 in which maybe I opened a mine. I'm not even sure. Yeah, I think I opened 1 mine and 2 trading stations. I didn't even open a research lab. So it was the worst Firaks round 1 ever, right?
I don't know. I think that two trading stations is better than 1 lab anyway.
2 trading stations, no labs, maybe 1 mine or 2. I don't remember what I did. But at the end of round 1, I think I'm done 4. I mean, and then I was playing against Ivets. I said, yeah, okay, so this is not going anywhere. I ended up scoring, and again, it was a 3 players game. I ended up scoring 197. Awesome. And I arrived 2nd, of course, because Ivets scored around 200. But still, it was a great Firaks game. So sometimes there is hope even in the direst of situations. So do not underestimate the power of Firaks. I don't remember how I did that though. So I can only offer you this kind of anecdotal thing, but then I don't remember how the game progressed and how Firaks got to 197. I just know that I did.
Anyway, with that opening, it's nothing short of a miracle, I think, because wow.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know how it. It was super bad. I know how it happened, but the point is that Firaks sometimes, especially because it was a 3 players game, and so I had the opportunity of expanding in the late game, which is normally precluded into Firaks in 4 players game. But since we had a bit more, breathing room on the map, then I was able to recover from the terrible round 1. So, Khalas, this is it. And for Firaks, I think, do we have anything that we need to add?
No, I don't think so. I already said what I think in the end. That basically they are cool, but hard to play. But hard to win with, not hard to play with, actually. So it's, I think that's my bottom line, to be honest.
Yeah,
cool, but hard to win with. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that as well. So
great.
This is it, folks. We've done it. Again, we're back, more or less on time, more or less, Yeah, I mean, like publishing episodes on a somehow kind of regular basis. And so
Indeed.
I'll
Okay, so please feel free to follow us. No, don't feel free to just do it. To follow us on the on your podcasting platform, which you prefer. And throw a like on this episode if you liked it, but this time for real. Send us your comment at paiagroject@gmail.com.
Yeah, please do.
Comment, reach us on our Discord. And anyway, thanks for listening to us. And hear you again on the next episode of Paia Groject.
Goodbye.
Bye.